So I sent this message to myself the other day. Stop waiting for permission to lead, to be better, to get started, to become who you used to be, who you are, who you were always going to become. Permission is never coming. Approval is not part of the deal. The becoming makes people uncomfortable. It exposes them and it pisses them off. They don't hate you. They hate what your movement reflects back at them. Stop waiting. They will never understand why you're changing. They only understand after you've already done it. And even then, they still probably don't like it. It's up to you to lead anyway. I was going to release that as a short and realized that, wow, there's a lot more there. So I hope you enjoy this episode of Old Man Energy. It's going to unpack a lot of things that go through my head on a daily basis and hopefully help some of you guys out there that are struggling with the same stuff. Love y'all. Peace. Good morning. Welcome to Old Man Energy. I'm your host, Flint Anderson, and welcome to this episode titled Cognitive Sovereignty. And as you can tell by the opening, I have a lot of things that I want to teach you guys and I want to go over with you guys. I'm going to do my best not to over-explain, so I've made some notes. But that opening is something, it's a reflection of something that I do for myself, not on a daily basis, but I do from time to time, send myself things that I want to remember, turn them into a mantra, if you will, but things that I either read daily, I memorize, that I want to take into heart. And when I'm working on a massive change and I want to create something more, either inside of myself, inside of my brain, or what have you, I put it everywhere. I tend to put it on the mirror in the bathroom. I have a whiteboard beside my desk that I write it on. I'll write it in my electronic notes section. Sometimes I'll even make it the background on my phone. I want it top of mind and I want it to be there until it's become so routine and so regular that it becomes a part of me. This is part of mechanical discipline, and I've explained that in a different episode. But this particular mantra, if you will, is something that I've been working on for a long time. I've struggled with this my entire career, and I've talked about that in a couple of the other episodes, but not to the point and not to the depth of, well, what do you do about it? One thing that I've come to realize in coaching and training and consulting with some of my other clients is they're dealing with the same thing. We've become such a society of discipline, and not discipline in the way that I talk about it. Whereas discipline, the way I talk about it, is you choose to do what you want to do. You do the hard thing anyway, all that good stuff. We'll get into it later. Discipline in the fact that you do what you're told, that you wait for permission. And this starts at a very young age, is where we're told not to make mistakes, but that grades need to be high. We are told you can't go to the bathroom without permission. We are trained, and rightfully so in some areas, that there are rules that we have to follow. But through that training, a lot of times we'll take it to the extreme and we're waiting constantly for permission to do things, not realizing that the fact that we want to do something ourselves is simply enough. So that's what I want to talk about. And that's one of the reasons I've done here is I've come to a position in my career where I've got to make some very specific choices about what I'm going to do, because I touch so many different things that my time is getting to the point where I can't spend the time doing all the different things that I want to do throughout the course of the day. So I'm having to make some choices, and those choices have been very, very difficult for me because I built everything that I'm doing right now, and I want all of it to succeed. And the only way for it to succeed is for me to get out of my own way. Other clients that I work with are dealing with the same thing. Tells me a lot of us are dealing with the same thing. I see a lot of uncertainty. I see a lot of people being frustrated online with different things that's going on. I see a lot of people needing more volume. We're going to spend some time talking about sales, things like that. But it starts with us. It starts with permission to do and to succeed and to be who we need to be. Most people are not stuck because they can't act. They're stuck because they're waiting to be allowed to act, which is ridiculous when you're an entrepreneur. But what happens is instead of taking that step and creating something that, well, let me back up here. A lot of you, especially entrepreneurs, will create enough cash and create enough money just to handle the situation at hand. So if the situation at hand requires $5,000, you make $5,010. If it requires $3,000, you make $3,000. And this cycle continues over and over and over again, Whereas you just would give yourself, if you would just give yourself permission to create that life of abundance and then go after it without being forced to, without having your back to the wall, you would be in a much better position. A lot of people are waiting for the right time. They're waiting for more information. Talked about this in another episode. You need more training. They're waiting for validation. They want somebody to tell them that their ideas are good. They're waiting for a consensus. They poll all of their friends, and if everybody doesn't think it's a good idea, or their family or whoever they trust and happen to talk to, well, then they don't go after it. And a lot of people simply don't have the confidence to pursue something just because they want to do it. Permission is a social contract invented to protect people who don't want to move. What does that mean? Let's apply that to those statements before. We're waiting for the right time. Some people don't ever want to succeed, but they think they do, or they think they're supposed to. So the time is never right. Well, I'll tell you right now, even for people that do want to succeed, the time is never right. There's not a time when the stars align and every light's green before you start your trip. It's important just to go. Well, I need more information, need more training. They want to understand every nuance of every single thing that might, could, gonna happen, whatever, before they start. Not gonna happen. But the fact that we're told that we need this additional training, and this is true, this is true. Even we start a corporate job, we go through some training, and rightfully so. There are certain things you need to know. But usually we are way overtrained for things that we can learn on the fly. Sales is the greatest thing here. You'll learn more in making 100 sales calls than you will in reading 1,000 books. You can usually get a rudimentary understanding of the subject. And if you go out there and start calling on people about whatever it is you are selling and being honest about what you do and don't know, you're going to learn a lot more 10 times faster. Same is true with foreign languages. You immerse yourself in the language, you learn it much faster than learning it from a book. Validation. We're so used to having to be told that we're doing a good job that we wait until everybody's telling us we're doing a good job before we even start. Or we need to hear it from a certain amount of people. That's a good idea. That's something that you need to do. That you should go for it. Validation. Don't share what you're doing with everybody. And we're going to talk about later in the episode why that's such a bad idea. But don't wait for validation. Please just move, just get started. Quit taking a poll of all the people around you. One of the dumbest things is, well, I could have had my dreams. I could have done that. That was a good idea. But when I asked everybody, they all thought it was a stupid idea. So I didn't do anything about it. You don't want to be that person. You don't want to be that person. That's consensus. Validation and consensus are kind of the same thing. Taking a poll of everybody, asking what's going on, validation. Oh yeah. Then they got to tell you it's a good idea and they got to validate you and you're the right guy to do it. Well, you need to tell yourself that and then go on with it. And then confidence. Have the confidence to move forward despite and in spite of what other people say and think. And I'm going to tell you, this is hard sometimes. There's been ideas that I've had that I moved forward on that Des didn't necessarily agree with me on. Some of them we're operating right now, but I had to have the confidence to know that it was the right call and then have the strength and the confidence to understand that she didn't agree with it and I needed to do it anyway. I wasn't sharing things with her for validation or consensus. I share everything with her, as you should with your significant other, whoever you're in your relationship with. They're not always going to agree with you. It doesn't make it wrong. It just means you better be extra prepared to make it right or be humble enough when it doesn't work to say, you know what, I really thought this was going to work. If I'd have listened to you, I wouldn't have tried. However, that conversation needs to go. It's not a pleasant conversation at all. Not waiting for permission is ugly. What I just talked about there was just one example, but there's more. Successful people typically will implement an idea very, very quickly. They'll find out, they'll through failure or through implementation, whether it works or not. They do not wait until they're ready. They decide to do something before they're ready. Once a decision is made, look, I'm going to explore this and see if it works or not. And then they run after it and they jump on it and they get after it. They decide before they're ready. They act with incomplete information. Oh, well, I've got enough here that I can go out there and do some market testing. I can start calling some people. I can see if there's enough interest in this. And this is not the same thing as consensus or validation. This is market study, if you will, or just calling on people to see if it's a viable idea or not. This is selling with intent, calling on people with intent, not trying to decide if you're getting started or not. That is moving without consensus. The other thing is we have to raise our standards to create some of these ideas that we have and to create this life that we want. The person you are now is a summary result of all the choices you've made up until this point. The person that you want to be, the goal that you want to hit, the place that you want to be is going to require you to be a different person. Now, if that person is better, I would hope so. But either way, you're going to have to raise your standards and you're going to have to become the person worthy of having those dreams and or goals. And how do you do that? Well, first of all, you have to decide what your dreams and goals are. Second of all, you don't wait for clarity. You start moving. You have a vague idea of what you want and what are the skills that you need to get there. So you start learning those skills while you're moving forward. You don't wait for clarity. You start moving. Clarity follows on who you need to become, what you need to do, and how you need to make this happen, how you structure this deal. That's okay. That doesn't mean you say yes to everything. But once you've decided that you're going to chase after something, you get after it. Get out there and go. And whether that's a goal, whether that's an idea, whether that's a project, it does not matter. In order to do this, you can't do it alone oftentimes, which means at some point you're going to have to develop leadership skills. And a lot of people, well, I'm the leader because I'm dad and the family follows me, or I'm the leader because I'm the scoutmaster, or I'm the manager and that makes me the leader, or what have you. This is not what I'm talking about. Leadership is acceptance of responsibility, even when it's not yours. Leadership is being the first one out there and taking those hits. Leadership is helping people figure out their problems, even when the solution is not in your title at work. I say a lot of times, there's two people that are critical inside of any corporate organization, and that's a gross oversimplification, but for this example, that makes sense. There's somebody who has the title, and then there's somebody who really knows what the hell is going on. The first one's the manager, the second one's the leader. They are not often the same at all. A lot of times these people are completely different. And the leader oftentimes does not have a title, whether it is they don't want it, they haven't been promoted to it, or they just simply are the person that's the go-to for everything. Learn to ascertain and discern these differences in people and learn to become these people. Now, you can be the manager and be the leader. That's an incredibly powerful person right there, because that's a manager that somebody taught, they learned, and their team follows willingly. This looks like, or this person is easy to identify. The leader's the one making the decisions when the data is incomplete, being able to take the data that they have and making the best decision possible. And the reason I'm describing this in the third person is because if you have not been a leader in a true sense of the word up until this point, it's only possible to think about that in the third person and then start seeing yourself in that role. But right now, I need you to get a clear definition of what being a leader looks like so that you can picture yourself in that role, engaging in these activities. So making decisions when the data is incomplete, taking what you have, making the best decision with what's at hand, and going forward. I want to take a minute to talk about decisions, because a lot of us make decisions based on incomplete data all the time, but we will decide not to do anything because the data is incomplete. This is not okay. It's like we're so afraid of making a mistake or an inability to go back and fix it that we don't do anything and we wait until it's too late. Or we wait until the last minute and then we're forced to shove it down our throats and we end up doing it wrong anyway because we're rushed. What did the old Tesla song says? Not deciding is still a decision. I don't know the exact lyric, but I do remember that, and that kind of struck home. You can undo any mistake you've made, especially in business. If you're doing something, you're running forward, you're going after something, you realize that you didn't make the right decision, you can undo it and you can go back and you can start over. Don't keep doing something just because you spent a long time doing the wrong thing, and switch, pivot. Nobody's going to stop you from doing that. Don't be so afraid to make a decision that you don't do anything. When you have made a decision, when a system breaks down, when it's not the right course that you're going, take responsibility for it. Instead of taking hours making excuses and talking about why it didn't work and so should have done this, and if only it had been here, or done, or just coming up with a million reasons, just look around and go, that sucks. Probably wasn't the right way to go. Absolutely wasn't the right way to go. Now we're going this way. My fault. I made the call. Let's go. That will give you more credibility. We think emotionally that we're supposed to be perfect. A perfect leader is never true. A perfect leader is somebody who's hiding the mistakes they've made. Somebody who stands up and owns their mistakes and goes, guys, we just ran for 4 hours in the wrong direction and it was all my fault. I now have new information and we need to go this way. Let's go. No explanations needed. No apologies needed. Hey, I screwed up. Let's go. Come on. Let's make this happen. It's important to realize early on in your leadership role that you're going to make mistakes. Own it. And please stop explaining. No, not stop explaining. You can explain when it's necessary why you did what you did. But stop making excuses about what you did. Just, okay, well, I screwed up. Let's go. Let's go on. That decision wasn't the right one. We're going to go from there. Sound like I'm repeating myself, but the reason I've spent so much time on this is because you are going to make mistakes, and it's going to be massively uncomfortable to have to own them and keep going. If you own them and keep going as quickly as possible, you don't lose momentum. You may have lost a little bit of time going the wrong direction, but you learned what didn't work. You learned where not to go. You learned what not to do. So now you know not to do that again. situation ever comes up again, now you lead from experience, not starting over. Another thing is you've got to start leading without knowing who's going to follow you. You're not going to run around to take a tab of everybody that's going to follow you, because even out of the ones that say they're going to follow you, most of them won't. Most of them won't do what you're telling them to do. Most of them won't do what you're telling them you're going to do. And they say they'll follow you. Most of them won't. It'll be the unexpected ones. Now, there will be some diehards that have been with you a long time, that are loyal to you, that trust your judgment enough because of the stuff that we've talked about before this, that you will have certain people that follow you. And as you gain more experience, you will realize that you have more people long-term helping you that you can trust and rely on. That's whenever you hear me or anyone else refer to their team, well, they've got a team of people, and trust me, they tried to pick that team picked themselves by showing up and by being there consistently and constantly, even when they did disagree or were angry. Your team is more powerful than you understand. We'll talk about that. And instead of telling everybody what you're going to do, you just let your results speak. You don't have to show off for the people that didn't believe in you. You don't have to rub it in their face. You don't have to tell the people that were late to the party that, oh, well, you should have listened in the first place. You'd have got more glory. The fact that you were right doesn't matter, except the fact that you won. You got where you were going. That makes you an effective leader. Your authority is not claimed. It's demonstrated, and it's earned. It's demonstrated through consistent, honest action. Notice I didn't say perfection, but what most people want is they want the authority without responsibility. And this is why they wait. They wait for the title. They wait for permission. Because if somebody gives you permission to do something, even if it's a consensus type permission, then if it doesn't work, you can always blame that person or that group of people. Well, the whole time I thought it wasn't a good idea, but so-and-so said it was okay to go ahead and do it. So there. This just makes you look weak. It makes you look terrible. Don't do this. Don't outsource your responsibility. It's just pure weakness. And it's not worth it. It destroys your credibility with yourself and with other people. And you know what? It will come and bite you. It will wake you up in the middle of the night. And when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you're going to feel like a weak piece of garbage. Don't do this. I could give you any number of examples of permission. And it's permission, of blame, because that's what this really is. But it's our human nature to blame other people for our mistakes. And the best example is the one that I use for my children, in my opinion. It's like you have to accept responsibility for everything that's around you. It doesn't make it your fault, but you do have to be responsible for it. If somebody runs into your car and they were blatantly in the wrong and you were blatantly right, whatever the situation was, you still have to take responsibility for fixing your car, for your medical issues, things like that. None of that's your fault. But the person that ran into you is not going to take responsibility for fixing your car. Their insurance may pay for it, but you still have to get the estimates, do all that. And they're damn sure not going to take responsibility for getting your medical care taken care of, making sure your family's fixed up, making sure your wife gets to work on time, whatever problems that created. They're not your fault, but they are your responsibility. If you look at every situation and everything that happens in your life like that and accept responsibility for it, not necessarily fault, your life becomes indeterminably easier, exponentially more effective long-term, as soon as you start accepting responsibility for everything. Because leadership in life is self-command. And it looks like going to the gym when nobody's watching. It's my responsibility to take care of my health. Sometimes that also means healing before you start working hard. So if you pull a bicep, well, maybe you're going to work on legs and you're going to take it easy until that bicep heals. It doesn't look like just continuing to hurt yourself over and over again. This looks like keeping your word, even when it costs you something. You say you're going to do something, and be very, very careful with who you tell what to. Learn to say no before you say yes. Des was known as the no mom, and she said no first. Even if it was something that she would agree to, she said no first. It just covered everything. Was that the right thing to do with the kids? No, not necessarily. Maybe not. Even her looking back goes, maybe I shouldn't have done that as much. But you know what it did is it made the kids only pursue the things that they really valued. Or it made them come to me, which I was a lot more lenient than she was. But at the same time, they also understood if she'd already said no, the risk that they were taking. So keep to your word. Don't overcommit yourself. And if there's things in your life that are broken, if there's things in your company that are broken, if there's people that have made egregious errors or even small mistakes and you're helping to fix these things, do it quietly. You don't need to trumpet to the world that Sally Sue was struggling with whatever report she was getting done or with her sales calls or whatever. Doesn't matter. Now, if she overcomes that and she wants to talk about it, that's totally different than you going, Sally Sue's really failing, guys. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to pull her out of the fire and I'm going to show her how to do it. And we should all be on board. And I want you to support her. Well, that's real shitty to do too. How do you do this? How do you apply this to yourself? Because I talked about leadership. You need to look at it as an outside role and then internalize it. The simple thing is define how you become someone that your past self would trust, that you would take advice from in the past. Because discipline, applied force of will over time. In this situation, discipline creates self-respect through motion. By doing the right thing, even when you don't feel it, over and over again, and doing it quietly without a lot of trumpets and a lot of fanfare, you create the person inside your own brain that you would trust, and then other people as a natural result start trusting you. And if they're not, then you need to do some more self-evaluation and figure out where you're failing. Or more than likely, ask somebody, a mentor, somebody who's close to you, somebody who would be financially or emotionally involved in the outcome of their advice, and see where you're screwing up. But be prepared to listen, because this is a very humbling exercise. I know. I do it fairly regularly, and I hate every minute of it. It never gets any easier. It sucks. What does leadership in relationships look like? Leadership in relationships starts off with emotional steadiness. Don't be reactive. And this is for the guys out there. Being reactive and being overly emotional is such a feminine response that it makes you look like less of a man. And I'm not meaning to insult females. Females are supposed to be feminine. But when you have a man who is strong, dominant, taking care of the family, doing what he needs to do, and he reacts like a woman, he reacts like a female, he reacts emotional, he loses total control. Admit it or not, you're going to lose self-respect for him. And I know those of you that are going to rise up and get your torches and pitchforks and come after me, I want to give you something to think about before you come at me in the comments on this one. You're out on a walk. I'm talking to the ladies out there. You're out on a walk with your boyfriend. Pretty serious relationship, maybe going to get married. Attacker comes up with a gun. One version of your boyfriend hides behind you and your daughter, is scared, lets you take the space in between. That's one version of the boyfriend. The other one forces the two of you behind him, even though you didn't ask, as soon as he identifies the threat, and then goes after the threat to neutralize it so that you don't get hurt. Which one of these men do you marry? There's only one option to that, and we all know what it is. So you do your worst if you want to. I don't really care. Be a leader in your relationship. This means not reacting when other people around you are dysregulated. Just touched on that a little bit. If your wife, your daughter, your kiddos are having a meltdown, they're having a hard time, you do not react emotionally to this. It doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you don't have emotions, but more emotions on top of a dumpster fire full of emotions that's already going off does not help. You have to be the strong person to regulate your emotions, to give them a rock to lean on, to allow them to decompress until sometime as the situation can be handled effectively and can be handled in a mature manner where they still feel safe. This isn't pretty. It's not easy to do. You have to say the hard things calmly. Don't scream and holler, but be insistent. If you have to make a decision that's unpopular and you know it's going to be unpopular, you don't have to defend it. You just have to state it, and you don't need to be mean about it. You just got to be firm, but you say it calmly. The time for emotion in this particular case is later. It's not whenever you're giving bad news to them or you're giving challenging news or struggling news. It is what it is. And if their reaction is anger and they're pissed off at you, oh well, it doesn't impact your ability to stay calm and do what you need to do. You have to hold alignment with them over agreement. If you're going to be a leader in a relationship, you're not looking for permission to lead. You're not looking for permission. You're looking for their cooperation in making things happen. Now, does this mean totally ignore what everybody wants? No. I don't do a great job, especially now that it's just the two of us. I don't do a great job of always incorporating what Des wants. And I'm getting better at that because I'm forcing myself to be more conscious of it. But we spent so many years being conscious of what the kids needed that we kind of were out of practice when it was just the two of us. I'm not making excuses. I've done a piss poor job of implementing that. And when I did implement it, it was reluctant. And even though I didn't say it, she picked up on it, and it just made the things that she wanted to do not fun, and that wasn't fair. So holding alignment doesn't always mean forcing people to go along with you. It means taking into account what everybody wants and making the best decisions accordingly, and incorporating what they need and everybody else's needs into your long-term decision. Leadership in relationships is about being anchored, about being that rock, not about being agreeable and being a pushover who just gets told what to do all the time. Here's a section, excuses and why they work. Any excuse will do, and they all work. Because here's the thing, you're going to fail. You're going to struggle. And all of the bad things that you're afraid of, some of them are probably going to happen anyway. Let's go through some of these excuses that we've got. There's about 100 to 150 of them out there that just get repeated over and over again. And the funny thing is, the excuses people use to call in for work or why they didn't get something done, they're all different versions of themselves. The top 5, I don't have time. I was late. I had a flat tire. Traffic was in the way. Whatever. There's a bunch of different versions of I don't have time. But I don't have time. I'm not ready. That translates to I'm scared. I need more information. I didn't do it because my training was off, or I didn't even start, or I screwed it up because I needed more information, whatever it is. Now just isn't the right time. Different versions of these, all different versions of these. I will start when things calm down. It's just not the right time. I couldn't do it. I'm sorry. I'll start when things calm down. But even with this is not why people lose. These excuses are so ingrained into us that we have mental channels that we fall into. Whenever we hear them, we say the accepted response. It's almost like responsive reading at church, where they say a certain passage, you know what you're supposed to say back. It's the same thing with hey, how was your weekend? It was good. Are you busy? Da da da. All those social cues, excuses are trained into us the same way. We accept them without calling them out. But this is not why people lose. We lose because we use that societal interaction as protecting comfort. And we're calling it caution because we don't want to press too hard. We don't want to hurt their feelings. We don't want to call them on their excuses because, well, we might not be very popular about that. That would suck. So as a result, we're waiting for the perfect time. We're waiting for certainty in a game that never changes and never offers it. Never. So we play the game. We play the excuse game. We play the dance. We say, okay, well, no problem. We understand. We're going about it. Try to do better next time. Think this through. You've had these discussions 1,000 times. But trying doesn't guarantee you will win. Not trying, well, doesn't guarantee anything either. It does guarantee that nothing's going to change, but so does trying. This statement used to piss me off, and it still kind of does, is because, if I'm not going to try, because people say, oh, there is no try, there is only do. It's from Yoda in Star Wars. Nobody of our generation doesn't know who that is. In The Matrix, stop trying to hit me and hit me. It used to piss me off because I'm like, how the hell are you ever going to get anywhere if you don't try and do something? What I didn't realize is I had conflated half-ass effort, which is what trying really is, with operating and learning as you go. So if you're going to do something, do it. And I thought failure was trying, but it's not. Trying is not giving your full effort. It's holding something back. Trying doesn't allow you to experience the failure and the learning that comes with it, because you stay protected through this veil of excuses that you keep giving to yourself and to others as to why you didn't go all in on it in the first place. You get to live with the fact that you didn't ever really try anything your entire life. No. You get to live with the fact that you didn't ever really do anything your entire life because you spent so much time trying. Choose your pain. Go all in. So what if you fail? You'll learn. But if you try, yeah, you're protected. But the pain of not actually knowing what you're capable of is so much worse than just getting out there and screwing some shit up. Maybe you make big mistakes. Okay, you ain't going to die. You'll be fine. You may be humiliated a little bit. So what? Dust yourself off and, God, I'm glad I got that shit over with. Let's move on. Don't allow mediocrity to continue to rule your life. So when somebody comes up to you and says, you just need to try, you can look at them and honestly say, I don't try things. I either do them or I don't. But the only way to do that is to go back a few minutes and learn how to be a leader and learn how to say no. So that when you do say yes to those things, you're all in with those yeses. I've spent entirely too much time in my career trying things. And the thing is, so when you try things and you half-ass it, sometimes it'll work a little bit. And so you get a little false confidence from that. And yeah, that's even worse than just failing, because at least failing, you're eventually going to stop because it hurts. If you're almost winning, that's terrible. Almost winning is worse than failing, in my opinion, because almost winning reinforces the half-assed effort. So you do more of it and you almost win again. It's terrible. And you never actually get where you want to go. You live a life of frustration, looking at it going, yeah, I'm capable of doing this, but for some reason, I'm not actually succeeding in it. What the fuck is going on? People are not going to understand what you're doing. They won't. What I just described to you looks like absolute insanity from the outside. But here's the thing. People are also not going to understand because they don't understand and they don't want to understand what it is that's driving you, that's pushing you to be more than what you are. Your growth disrupts their narratives. You're interrupting the excuses that they're giving themselves as to why they can't succeed. And some people react very angry and violently at this. Your movement not only exposes your own stagnation, but it exposes everybody else's too. And your clarity and your absolute dedication to a said purpose goal threatens their comfort because they're pretty comfortable where they are now. And no matter how much we profess not to look to each other for reinforcement of where we're at, we do that all the time. This is where we talk about you're going to lose some friends and you're going to exist in a really weird spot once you've made the decision to actually move forward with your dreams and your goals, because you won't be quite ready for new friends because you're still figuring out who the hell you are, but your old friends have alienated you and you've outgrown them, or you're choosing not to spend time with them because they're toxic. It's a very lonely spot to be. And the thing is it's not just once. Every time you make a major shift and change in your life, this cycle starts anew. And sometimes you might not necessarily, especially on the top end of this tier where you've got other friends and other people in this cycle, sometimes they won't necessarily lose their friendship because once everybody's playing the same game, they're going to back off and let you give you the space to do what you need to do because they know what's required. They're still there, but the interaction is different. And you know what? When you're sitting at a different table, now you have access to both. That's a whole nother situation that comes from winning. Some people are going to think you're insane. They're going to think you're crazy. But if everybody understands what you're doing, then you're not moving fast enough. You're taking way too much time to explain to other people why it's important that you pursue your own dreams and goals. God, I'm guilty of this like nobody's business. I want everybody to understand clearly what I'm doing because I'm a teacher. I want to lead people. I want to teach them. Okay, that's all well and good, but it doesn't mean I have to lead everybody and I don't have to teach everybody because a lot of times people don't listen, they don't care, and they didn't ask in the first place. Do not over-explain yourself. Do not push people that don't want to be pushed. Do not defend yourself mid-progress, and never negotiate your standards. Don't do it. What you need to do is stay consistent. You just let your outcomes speak for themselves. You let your work show who you are. And you let time take care of all your explanations. Here's my quote with this. This is, people of integrity expect to be believed, and when they're not, they let time prove them right. Think about that for a minute. Understanding does not come until after you've achieved your results. Some people will never understand it. You become too good for them, or too good, or too big for your britches. You ever heard that one? Too big for your britches. Approval often never comes at all. They won't allow you to gloat. I guess they're afraid you're going to gloat, but once you've reached this point, you no longer care about gloating. But they won't allow you the satisfaction of them admitting that you were right the whole time. Again, it challenges their narrative, even though you don't give a rip about their narrative one way or the other. It challenges their narrative. This takes me into the mental shift that changes absolutely everything. You can be performing the exact same work, because what we're talking about here is not doing something new that you've never tried before. Necessarily, it could be, but it's not necessarily. You could be doing the same work. You could be staring at the same set of problems, and you oftentimes will, the same pressures that you have every day, and the same circumstances, driving the same shitbox that you've been driving, going to the same desk, doing the same work, all of it exactly the same. But your outcomes start changing because your interpretation is different. Because mentally, you're no longer coasting. What you used to see as the grind, as boring, as never unchanging, you now start to see solutions. You now start to act in a manner so that you can either escape from that particular hell, or you solve those problems so you become capable of solving more so you can go on and do more. Two people in the gym, they're lifting the same weight. This is a great analogy. And I compare everything to lifting heavy circles because you can't lie about that. Two people lift the same weight. One person sees that as punishment. They're being punished. Why do I have to do this? I don't want to do this. One person sees it as training. Man, if I do this enough, I'm going to be stronger and then I can lift something heavier and this is going to save me in the long run. I'm going to do different. Same weight, same environment, two totally different attitudes and two totally different outcomes. 5 years from now, that first person is going to be lifting that same weight and still hating every minute of it. That second person will have completely changed their lives, and not just in the gym. The gym is a metaphor in this. The same two people are struggling. One sees proof that they're failing everywhere they look. The other one sees proof that they're growing, that they're being tested, that they're being forged into something greater than they were. Same circumstances, same jobs, similar people. Totally different mindset, totally different mental shift. Pain resisted becomes suffering. If you're going to do something that hurts, you might as well own it and get it done with. Ripping the Band-Aid off, you go slow. Oh my God, it takes forever, it hurts. Whereas if you just grab it and snap it off, it's done. It's gone in a few seconds. Pain interpreted becomes training. Okay, guys, this is going to suck. We're going to have to go in here and we're going to have to clean this mess up that was left by our predecessors. Okay, no problem. First guy attacks it. Oh, God, why do we always have to clean everybody else's messes up? I can't believe they chose us for this again. I'm never going to do anything more than this. This is ridiculous. Or let's get this cleaned up. And at the end of it, when it's all said and done, man, I learned a bunch about what we need to do, what not to do. Where's the next challenge? Let's go. The same workload, the same pressure, different meaning, different interpretation creates different results. You're always going to experience pain. You're always going to go through things that hurt, that suck, that don't give you what you want right then. That's okay, because if you interpret it correctly, you can create peace for yourself. A lot of people chase happiness. A lot of us are taught, well, you want to live a life of happiness and contentment. Blissfully discontent is a statement that I've heard. I decided, as you heard at the opening of this, that I'm not chasing happiness anymore. The thing with happiness is, in order for it to exist, you have to have sadness, you have to have loss, you have to have tragedy. So if your definition of success is happiness, you're only at best going to be successful 50% of the time, if not less. I decided. I was slapped in the face by my own realization that was not the way I wanted to live. I don't want to be successful 50% of the time. I want to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy. But pursuing happiness is peaceful. I choose peace. When I decided to stop working for happiness and start working for peace, I started looking at the world completely differently. There was no learning curve. It was overnight. I was like, oh my God. I woke up and was like, oh my God, I prefer the peace. I like the happiness part of it, but I'm not upset now when the sadness comes. When the tragedy comes, I'm able to be sad because the situation itself is sad, or I'm able to experience the tragedy without feeling like a failure. Because my goal is not happiness, my goal is peace. Happiness is conditional, based on circumstance, environment, and oftentimes things out of our control, but it always depends on things going well. Peace is earned. Peace survives when other things don't. Peace is not an emotion. Peace is a state of being. Happiness, too, can be a state of being, but peace is internal. You can be sad and be at peace. You can be disappointed and be at peace. You can be excited and be at peace. And you can be happy and be at peace. But you can't be happy and sad at the same time. You can't be disappointed and ecstatic at the same time. One emotion overrides the other, but all of them are connected by peace. And peace comes from the knowledge that you can endure anything. Peace comes from the knowledge that you have stepped up to the plate, you have done things that are hard, you have faced challenges, and even if you haven't faced this particular challenge before, that you will come out on the other side with more knowledge, more information, and a better perspective on life. Your peace is earned, but it does survive when other emotions just go away. Peace comes from trusting your standards. If you're a man of your word, person of your word, but if you're a person who does what they say they're going to do, a person that everybody knows they can trust, you're at peace. If you tell the truth all the time, you're at peace. You don't have to remember who you told what to. The truth simply is what it is. And here's the thing people don't realize about the truth. It doesn't require belief. In order for a lie to be effective, it requires that people believe it. The truth is what it is. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. It's still true. So you don't spend time convincing anybody of the truth. You don't talk them into it. Well, I did this, da-da-da. I don't think you did. Well, okay. Doesn't change the fact you did it. You don't need them to believe you. It doesn't matter. You see the mental shift? One is a peaceful approach to a stressful situation. The other one is just, there's no peace at all in that. Having stared off into that abyss of the unknown, willingly taken the step until you figured it out, changes the way you look at things. You are much more calm. You're much more at peace with the world when you know you can do difficult things or things that you can't see the outcome of when you start, because you're self-reliant, because you don't need permission from anybody else to start. You just start going after things. Some people call this running off half-cocked. I don't think you should chase every random idea that you have. I think if you have a good idea, write it down, sleep on it. If it's still a good idea in the morning, well, then maybe you need to consider running after it. I've had some doozies of great ideas at night. I woke up in the morning and saw what I wrote down. I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? That doesn't make any sense at all. Give your subconscious time to chase it. But when you have a good idea, you run after it even without knowing anything about it. that gives you a sense of purpose and a sense of power that allows you to have peace. And one thing that I haven't talked about yet, and again, as a reminder, happiness is a mood, sadness is a mood, peace is a position that can be experienced throughout all of these things. This is why either older people will often sit back in a room, or people with more experience, they're usually the quiet ones. They're the people that are at peace. They're just observing what's going on. The young people are running around crazy. The kids are doing what they do. This is especially prevalent in large families. People are having their spats back and forth, and the elders of the family or the experienced ones of the family are just sitting back observing and watching, usually with a small grin on their face, because they're at peace. They know that all these problems that seem so important to everybody in their environment right then, they'll all get resolved one way or the other. They'll make for some great stories. They'll make for some experience, and they'll make for some different situations between one another. But usually they'll always pass. That's peace. That is true peace. That's when you face the dark and you don't abandon yourself. You trust your standards and you become this Zen person that you have a vision of in your head right now. The thing about peace is we don't find it when things are going well. The only time we can forge peace in our life is by creating the realization that we can survive situations that are not going well. When we've stood up to these challenges and we've won. You don't have to win pretty. Sometimes just being persistent and lasting through these challenges is more than enough. You have to be willing to face the pain, to work through the pain, to do what you need to do. Become the person that you know you are in your heart. And when you start, you don't have to become that person all the way to get peace. When you start making choices and having events in your life responded to according to who you are in your heart, peace starts coming. There's an old I don't know if it's a Bible verse or a hymn, but it says the peace that passes understanding. And I used to think that meant that we had to understand something in order to be at peace about it. But no, the peace passes it. We don't necessarily have to understand why it works. We just know that it works. But also, once you've done this, once you've faced these dragons and these demons, and once you've overcome these challenges, then you start to be grateful for the fact that you have the skills and the ability to do this. And gratitude is one of the most powerful generators of peace ever. If you can start each day with 3 things that you're grateful for, that emotion in and of itself helps generate peace. And it can be a person that you're grateful for, but it needs to be specific. I know a lot of times I'm grateful for my cup of coffee and the sun and just being able to sit there and reflect and read a book. I'm so grateful that that's part of my life these days. And it always has been in one way or another, but that time alone and that quiet reflection time I'm grateful for every day. And gratitude is one of the most fleeting of all human emotions. And that's true. If somebody's grateful to you for helping them, they won't stay that way forever. It's a fact. It's not a bad thing. It doesn't make them a bad person, but it is the most fleeting of all human emotions. So you have to renew that gratitude every day. And there are some good tools out there to help you with gratitude exercises every morning if you need them. I like just to either journal or sit there and sometimes just think about it. And if you're grateful for somebody, send them a message and tell them you're grateful for them and why. If you're grateful for an event, write it down so you can remember that event that you're being grateful for. Gratitude allows you to foster peace in your life because it helps you remember the good pieces of what's happened to you or why you're doing what you're doing. The work that we do is the point. Once you've gotten everywhere, you're trying to, so what's the point for doing all of this? What is it? It's the work. I'm going to give you another gym analogy, and because it's an analogy, it won't necessarily make sense when challenged factually. My average workout is 45 minutes. That's about how long I'm able to give maximum effort in the gym. It's what works for me. Not looking for your input on that. If you want me to share with you why it's 45 minutes, I will later. Doesn't really matter at this point. But I will tell you right now, sometimes that 45 minutes takes 30 minutes. Sometimes that 45-minute workout takes an hour and a half. The clock doesn't matter. That's not the point with the workout. When I get there, I'm going to do a certain level of exercise. I'm going to do a certain number of things, and it just averages out to 45 minutes. The workout is the point, the movement, the choice, the struggle, the suffering, the pain that I put my muscles in my body through, the discipline of doing it day after day after day. I choose to do something hard on purpose just because I should. In my case, not moving costs me more than moving. Not making your choice to do the hard thing, whatever that happens to be in your life, will always cost you more than choosing to do it, choosing to suffer through it, even if you're making mistakes. Remember, we can't grow without being uncomfortable. I'm going to share something with you. I tend to like to talk a lot when I'm uncomfortable, especially if I've done something uncomfortable. One of my projects right now is putting me in situations that are very uncomfortable for me. I need to be there. I have the confidence and the ability to be there, and I have the experience of doing what I'm doing. Now, none of that is in question. I'm not trying to sit at a table I don't belong at. What I am doing is I'm putting myself in front of people that I normally would have avoided, not because I was intimidated by them, but because I didn't think I brought enough to the table in the past. And I've since realized that that's wrong. Well, still, it makes it just deciding that made me do it because, again, we got to do things that we need to do. And I'm not going to try and do these things. I'm just going to do them. I'm going to hammer it out. The problem with it is that it makes me insanely uncomfortable. So once I've done it, once I've sent that message, sent that email, written that text message, made that phone call, whatever it was, then I'm uncomfortable about it because I can't take it back. So I sit there and I kind of mumble to myself, or I'm like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Or, oh, well, you know what? Whatever pops up. That's just a quirk I've got. And it used to bother me that happened. And I was like, man, why did you all fucked up? What's wrong with you? This is weird. But it's a pressure relief valve because I can't do anything about the discomfort at that time because it's done in such a way that I can't take it back. And I don't need to take it back. That's not what I'm meaning. I'm just meaning that we've all been there. It's like, oh my God, okay, I did it. That's what are we going to do? I used to think that was bad. I used to think that made me weird. What I've done, because I'm seeking peace and not happiness, I'm not seeking comfort anymore. I'm seeking peace, is now I know that if that's happening to me and my body and my emotions are reacting in that way, I did the right thing. And I'm looking at that as a trigger for me to do more of whatever it is that made me uncomfortable. And just like learning to ride a bike or ski or ice skate or roller skate or whatever it is, we're uncomfortable at first. Then when we get it right a few times, we get excited about it. We keep going, we keep doing it. And then all of a sudden, we don't know why we were uncomfortable with the whole thing in the first place. This happens. This is universal truth. We all have our reasons for doing things. But remember, you do something hard on purpose simply because you know it's the right thing to do. You don't need somebody to give you permission for it. I want you guys to stop waiting for permission. I opened with that. I'm closing this. Don't wait for permission. I'm not going to say, if you're looking for that permission, I give it to you now. It's not my place to give you permission to do what you need to do. It's yours. Give it to yourself. Let yourself go. Decide today that you're going to quit half-assing everything that you touch, and you're going to go all in on whatever it is you've decided to spend your critical time doing. Move forward because you decided it was okay, because you gave yourself permission. If you need to physically go look in the mirror and tell yourself you have permission to do whatever it is you need to do, then go do it. But whatever it is that you need to do it. Move forward and quit explaining yourself to everybody. Nobody needs to understand why you're doing what you're doing. Here's the thing. You're going to explain yourself to them, and they're not going to understand anyway. They may still think you're nuts, only now they have more information to tell you how nuts you are. And stop mistaking discomfort for danger. You're not in any danger. It's okay to be uncomfortable. They can't take your birthday. Des says that. I love it. They can't take your birthday. What are they going to do? They're going to come take my birthday? Nah, screw it. What do you got to lose? Stop mistaking discomfort for danger. Move anyway. Decide to lead. Stand up and lead anyway. I may not be the most qualified leader. Who cares? You're the one with the idea. Go lead. You'll figure it out along the way. If you don't, you'll figure out what doesn't work, and you can go do what does. That's the whole point. That's called experience. How do you get experience? By making dumbass decisions, by making stupid mistakes. I'm glad I got that out of the way. Now I know what to do next. And ultimately, you'll be grateful for the trip because peace exists on the far side of the work. If you guys have made it this far and you listen to me rant for almost an hour, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys so much. I want you to share this with other people that will get something out of it. I want to see each one of you guys succeed. If you don't like and subscribe and follow me on all the different social media platforms, you're missing out. I post almost every day, either real content from my life, shorts from this, so you can remember the pieces that you missed, or sometimes just random thoughts and pictures from the gym and videos from the gym, or some of the silly, stupid stuff that I do, because I really want you guys to be comfortable with the fact that not everybody out there is just making this up and pretending to be somebody they're not. I do this as I go along. I don't know what I'm going to do until that week, usually, for the podcast episodes. And usually it comes from just whatever I feel like talking about that day. I want you to see my successes. I want you to see my failures. I want to see each and every one of you win. And if me documenting that helps you guys feel a little better about doing what you're doing, or like, man, I'm glad I don't live that guy's life. Whew, mine's not so bad compared to whatever. So I'm okay with it. Follow me, give me some love, show me some comments down below, tell your friends, go follow all that good stuff. Till next week, love y'all. Peace.